Okay, we've now seen the full demonstration of how this stack works, diving all the way down to the Ethernet layer and then working our way back up. What I'm going to do finally is do one last little demo. I'm going to reload this page and I will sort of talk through what we've done, do a little review. So I'm going to open a private window just to make sure that the connection starts from scratch. I'm going to put in that URL, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to open the DevTools in Firefox. Now, the DevTools in Firefox are similar to this curl command line tool. They allow us to see this connection in action. So let's make the connection. Okay, so you can see at the top we have a request to this /about page. So I'm going to open that up and we'll have a little look. Now, if I mouse over this, you can see the IP address. So diving down this connection, we want to make a HTTPS connection to this. Let's go through what we did. So we've got the scheme. We know it's going to be HTTPS. We've got the host name. And now we need to get the IP address. So the IP address has been resolved using DNS. So we went through DNS. Then how do we reach that? We went through the IP routing. And so we discovered that we need to talk through our router. So we need to get the IP of the router. We got that from our routing. And how do we actually send an Ethernet packet to that router? Well, we talked about ARP, the address resolution protocol, of how we find the MAC address of the router. We looked a little bit at that link layer and saw the ARP request resolve the IP address of our gateway. And then we got back to layer 2 where we wanted to send packets. So we're sending Ethernet packets to the gateway and we're sending them to the destination IP address. And you can see that this matches our IP address here, and then the colon there, 443, shows the port that we're trying to reach, that 443. We talked a little bit about the transport layer, TCP, which is what Firefox is using here for the connection. And then we talked a bit about the layer 4, the application layer. And that was where we talked about TLS performing a secure connection. And you can see it is secure because we've got this little lock symbol and it says the connection used to fetch this resource was secure. And then we talked about the HTTP connection encoded inside that TLS connection. And that's what we're seeing here. We've got our request headers. We did a GET request. So this is like the GET request we saw up here. We did a GET request, we got back a server 200 OK, we sent some headers, we got back some headers. There's even more headers again here because this is a full browser. The response, we can see all the HTML in the response, and what I can do is do response payload down here, and we see that actual doc type HTML, that we expected to see with the title and everything. One other thing I will point out on this request is that this page isn't made up of a single request. It actually includes in this HTML a bunch of links to other resources. So we've got, links to our CSS style sheet, and that's these style sheets here. We've got JavaScript, that's this index.js. We've got images, that's this JPEG here, and just some fonts and various other things. So this first request tells us what other things to fetch, and then the browser just makes another connection, same as what we saw for the first connection, to fetch each of those other contents, the CSS, the JavaScript, the images, more JavaScript, the font, more images. So that's how a website loads. It's using that Internet Protocol suite to negotiate connections. It dives down into the Ethernet layer, and then over the protocols that are built up, it then sends HTTP and TLS data on that data layer with all this foundation underneath it.